The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Each year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the feast of Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up according to the festival custom. After they had completed its days, as they were returning, the boy Jesus remained behind in Jerusalem, but his parents did not know it. Thinking that he was in the caravan, they journeyed for a day and looked for him among their relatives and acquaintances, but not finding him, they returned to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were astounded at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished, and his mother said to him, "Son, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been looking for you with great anxiety." And he said to them, "Why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" But they did not understand what he said to them. He went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them, and his mother kept all these things in her heart. And Jesus advanced in age and wisdom and favor before God and man. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. The Feast of the Holy Family is what we celebrate today. It's always during the period between Christmas and New Year, and this is supposed to be the octave of Christmas, and it's supposed to be 8 days of great feasting and celebration. So go ahead and have that glass of wine with lunch or whatever and celebrate. And right in the midst of this moment, after we see Christ there, the Christ child in the manger with Joseph and Mary, we're celebrating this family, this new family, the Holy Family of the three of them together. Now, whenever Christ does something, we should always pay attention to it, right? And we know that the most important things he did was his 3 years of public ministry and then his passion, death, and resurrection. That was obviously the culmination. But everything before that counts too. And so when we find him doing something, participating in something, it's because he's also trying to communicate something to us. And so we see him, for example, working. We know that he was, as the son of Joseph, as a good son would do, he'd go to work with his dad once he was old enough. They'd do that for years. His public ministry didn't start till he was 30, so as best traditions tell us. And so probably from somewhere between 13, 14, 15, all the way to 30, he's going to work every day. And so the way we talk about that is that he's sanctifying work. He's showing that it's a good and dignified thing to do. He's blessing it, enriching it, and showing us that there's deep meaning in there. And we should lean into it. Work. Okay. That was one thing. The wedding at Cana, another moment. Of course, that's in Scripture during his public ministry. But he's showing up at this wedding, showing, no, this is an important thing. I'm blessing this. I'm showing the dignity and the depth and the richness that's here. I'm showing the meaning for it by participating in this. Now, most importantly, where he spent the most time of anything that he did was in family. Remember, from birth all the way, his mother was right there at the foot of the cross. He's in family that whole time. And it was Pope Leo the 13th that instituted this particular feast. This is back in the late 1800s or so, right when the Industrial Revolution is just rip-roaring along, and it's doing some things to family that were taking work and actually putting that as almost something more important than family. Something to listen to there. And so he's trying to re-emphasize the importance of the family. But the whole point was precisely that. Let's value, appreciate, meditate on what this gift is of family. Now, our first reading speaks a lot about this, and we have the book of Sirach, just instructions for families. It's for fathers, for mothers, for kids. This particular passage really focuses on the children. And this is, my son, take care of your father when he is old. Grieve him not as long as he lives. Even if his mind should fail him, do not forsake him and be considerate of him. It's like he's showing that there's something that's wholesome, and not just like this is a nice, quote, tradition because, this is just what we always do. No, but it's speaking to the way we're actually made. We're made to be in family. Doesn't always work out that way perfectly, but that's what we're created for that. I mean, in the same with the Ten Commandments, we have the fifth commandment about honoring your father and mother. That wasn't just because, in our religion, we're going to have some traditional things that we just always do, kind of like a secret handshake and this other thing we're going to do with the special foods and things like that. And we'll have this thing about honoring your father. No, this one's like goes right down to the core of every fiber of our being, of honoring your father and mother. And our fathers and mothers aren't perfect either. Neither are we. But it's shining a light on, making explicit something that's already implicit in your heart and in your being, that honoring father and mother is something that develops us. It is a pathway for all of us for spiritual maturity, spiritual development. Because it's not easy always to honor your father and mother, and it requires humility, it requires patience, it requires sacrifice. It works the other way around too. To have kids requires humility and patience and sacrifice. That's that's a feature, not a bug. Now, this family, that has been so sanctified and given depth of meaning, and Christ is shining a light on it by being born into one, saying, no, this is good, and I'm going to do it too. I'm going to do this family thing. As we look at what a family is, and here what I'm describing is the ideal situation. I know because of human frailty and weaknesses and life, they don't always come out this way, and I'll speak to that a little bit more later. But really, it's a husband and a wife, a man and a woman, making a lifelong commitment to each other, saying, I will sacrifice and live for you. I no longer belong to myself. I belong to you for the rest of your life. And the spouse is saying the same thing back. All I am is yours, and all you are is mine. And it's a lifelong commitment. That's not easy, but it brings out the best in them precisely because it's not easy. And it takes a matter of renewing that commitment again and again and again and again and again and again every day, and asking for forgiveness. And from that sacrifice, that commitment, lifelong commitment, that's where new life comes from. And they pour the love of the couple bears fruit, we say, in new life. And then that child is experiencing the love and security of his mother and father, and seeing how they love each other, and experiencing the love from the parents. St. John Paul II spoke about how in a family, that's where we all first begin to experience the love of God. That to have two adults that just are all about us. It's an image of God. God is all about us. He wants to give himself completely, take care of us, provide for us. When we're small, our parents are like omniscient and all-powerful, so it would seem. It's an image of God, and God's forming that, helping us experience that have our heart be nourished in that way, developed and formed in that way. And then our parents correct us and guide us and mold us. That's what God does, and he does it through our parents, and he does it through many other places. But it's a forge for the mother and the father and for the children. Forges are filled with fire. And we say it's the fire of love, but it's also the fire of suffering. In certain ways, there's not a big difference between the two. And it brings out, it forces, requires the best from us. If you have brothers and sisters, you know what that fire feels like. If you have kids, especially if they're teenagers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're married, you experience it every day. And that's okay that it's hard. It wasn't meant to be just a cakewalk. It wouldn't bear the fruit that it does if it was a cakewalk. Now, the church has so much deep respect and encouragement for any families that find themselves in a broken scenario, in a broken situation, or a non-ideal through death, through divorce, and things like that. The church isn't saying, yeah, that's no good. That's no. There's so much value in the mother and the father still trying their best and their hardest to take care of the kids and respect and love each other, even though maybe they're separated. And so I'm not saying that that's worthless and you're all big sinners and you're all going to hell. No, that's not the message of the church. The church is saying, no, keep at it. You're still connected, even though maybe the actual living situation is quite different. And you still need to forgive. And you still need to heal. All the most recent church fathers or popes have spoken about the family in a very special way. In modern society today, in democracy, like here in most of the West, we think about the individual as being the foundation of society. So democracy, you got one person, one vote, you got your rights and all that. That's not the way the church sees it when it comes to society. I mean, that's a real thing. I'm not saying individuals aren't worth anything. But when it comes to building society, the fundamental unit is the family, not the individual. Because in the family, it's a unit, it is a relationship of love. And if you want to build society, build it on relationships of love, not just individuals who happen to be living geographically in the same spot. And in that situation of love, we mature, we grow, we flourish, we expand. It forms us, it forges us. Our selfishness starts to get kind of ground out of us. But we have to let it do that. We have to lean into that. In a society where really, just a hypothetical situation, let's say there's a society where there are no marriages, there are no families, it's just random men, random women that get together in any kind of random combination, and there's kids just kind of crawling around wherever. It's like, man, that is going to be the most chaotic, unstable, and just lawless and corroded society that you can possibly create, because there is no grounding in love and commitment, of lifelong commitment, unconditional commitment. It says, yeah, I like you for this evening. That's why the church promotes so much the traditional family, not because it's traditional, it's because it's how we're made. It's what we need for ourselves, for our own souls, and also for our society. We need that. Again, I'm not trying to say that any limited or broken kind of situation doesn't add value, and that there's not some blessing and some hard work that needs to be done there. I'm not saying that, but it's it's all going to hell in a handbasket. But what I am saying is that we should constantly strive towards the North Star. of healing, of forgiveness, of unconditional commitment, and renewing that commitment. So don't be discouraged if you're in an irregular situation or a broken situation. Don't be discouraged if your actual situation, it's an intact family, but man, this is so hard and this is not. Don't be discouraged that because Christ comes to be in the family. He comes to sanctify the family. He comes to save and redeem the family precisely because it is broken in some ways. And that's why it came into one. To bless it, to be present in it, to bring healing to it, to lift it up. How's that going to happen in yours? Forgiveness, healing, patience, humility. It's tough as nails. But man, if you lean into that, it will turn your soul into gold. It will turn your family into gold through the fire of love and the fire of the suffering that purifies.